great and what we need to see continue so we don't have any kind of long lines or crowding at the polling places on Election Day.
That was Justin Lee, Director of Elections, earlier today, talking about using the Postal Service for mailing in your ballot. Today was the last day to get ballots postmarked and qualified to be counted, but there are still other options if you haven't voted yet. Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight on the night before Election Day. Joining us live in studio tonight is the person you heard from at the beginning of this segment, Justin Lee. He is the Utah Director of Elections and probably one of the most popular people for local news outlets in Utah this week. Justin, I think this is your third appearance on our station today and also your third appearance in this show. Thank you so much for spending your morning, day, and evening with us.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, let's talk numbers first of all. How many ballots have you received? How many were mailed in? And how many were dropped off at boxes?
So the numbers are really good. We're at about 1.1 million ballots that have been processed at this point. To put that in perspective, we had 1.15 million ballots processed total in 2016. So our numbers are looking great before Election Day. Now, I don't have an exact breakdown of how many have been, through the mail or through the drop boxes, but we're hearing from the county clerks that a majority of people are putting them in the drop boxes, which is good because that's really your option at this point.
That's absolutely great. Love seeing those voter numbers getting broken every election cycle. Some states won't start counting the mail-in ballots until the polls close. So what is the process for reading these ballots?
So several things happen when you send in your by-mail ballot or you put it in that drop box. First off, the county is going to go look at that signature to make sure that your signature matches the signature that's on file. And they have several different signatures on file from perhaps previous elections or registration forms. And then if that matches, and that's the case for most ballots, then the envelope and the ballot are separated and the ballot is then run through the counting machine. Now, none of the actual results are tabulated until we get tomorrow on Election Day, but they're actually run through those machines, so it's all sitting in a computer waiting to be tabulated.
I want to readdress the security of these ballots. It's been a constant concern throughout the past few months. How do you respond to Utahns who worry about voter fraud or other issues with early voting?
You know, the good thing for us here in Utah is we've done by mail for several years now. And so we're speaking from experience, not from theory. And there's nothing that really shows there's any kind of widespread fraud or security issues with our ballots. We audit the ballots after Election Day and before the results are certified in a couple of weeks. There's testing of the machines before any voting takes place, so people can feel confident that these elections work and that the by-mail works well. I
think that's what's really nice about being a voter in Utah is we've had the practice. We've done this for several years, so it's nothing that's new to us. Let's talk about tomorrow. How many voters are you expecting? Maybe how many people in person or drop-offs, and how are you guys preparing for that?
There are still a lot of voters who could vote. Now we have 1.68 million active voters in the state, and that's a record for us. We had 1.4 million back in 2016 and 2018. So we've got a lot more voters. And there's about 500,000 ballots that could still come in if every single voter voted. So we would love to see that. Still plenty of ballots out there, and still a lot of people who could vote.
Just as you said, not exactly sure what's going to happen tomorrow. Let's talk to voters about what they need to bring if they want to vote in person tomorrow. Any tips that you might have for them?
So the first tip is if you have that by-mail ballot, it's not too late to vote it. If you've got that ballot sitting there and you just haven't voted it yet, you can still put it in a drop box even tonight or tomorrow until 8 o'clock, or you can take it to the polls and drop it off, and that's very simple. Now, if for some reason you didn't get a ballot or you need extra help, you can go to the polls and vote in person. If you're going to do that, you're going to want to take voter ID. A driver's license works great, a passport works really well, or you can take something like a bank statement or utility bill to show who you are and that you live in that correct place so you get the correct ballot.
And I'm also guessing that they need to wear a mask. Will they be denied if they don't come or show up with a mask?
You know, that's right. We encourage everyone to absolutely wear a mask. Now, I don't think county clerks are going to be turning people away. You know, the right to vote is very important. But we still ask everyone to wear that mask. With our COVID numbers spiking, we don't need to spread this virus anymore. So please wear a mask. And if you can, avoid those polling places, like I said. Go put that in the drop box or just drop off that ballot so we don't have long lines and people standing around in crowds.
Follow-up question here. You were talking about how good our numbers look this year. Do you expect this is going to be a record-breaking year for Utah voters?
I do, and there's a couple different ways we can kind of parse out that number. One, raw numbers, 1.15 million, we're going to certainly break that. We'll break that by midday tomorrow, I'm sure. Now the question is, can we reach the percentage of voters we've had in the past? So in 2016, we had 82% of active voters vote. We're over 60% now, so I think it's very likely that we'll catch that number. But we'll see. With so many more voters registered to vote, that's a higher number to catch. But I think we'll do it. Everything indicates high turnout.
All right, we have about a minute left. The 4th district race in 2018 was extremely close and required recount. When should people expect certain races to be called in this election?
You know, that's a great question. And you know, the 4th district has always been close. As long as it's existed, we've had tight elections in the 4th district. It's important to remember that elections are never final on election night. We've got to count all the absentee ballots, all the by-mail ballots, and all the provisional ballots that are outstanding. So for races with some good distance between the candidates, those will likely be fairly clear on election night. But for a very close race, like we saw in the 4th Congressional in 2018, it could take the full 2 weeks for the counties to get through all the ballots, and we'll see who the winner is.
All right, you've been hearing from Justin Lee, Utah Director of Elections. Justin, thank you for practically spending your entire day with us. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you.